Hello guys, welcome back to SWS Boxing. Delighted to get back on the channel. Emmanuel Zion, he's now had 8 fights with 6 wins and 2 defeats, 3 wins by knockout. And yes, how are you doing, Emmanuel?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for asking. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
Anytime, mate. And yeah, before we talk about your last fight that you had with Ryan, you fought in October at Tolworth Recreation Centre against a very tough opponent in Serge Ambomo, and it was 60 to 53 on points. Talk about that fight.
It was an interesting fight. It was my first fight with my coaching team, and I really wanted to go out there and try stuff. So I think I went out there. My focus mainly was kind of like we discussed, work on my boxing a little bit, show my boxing ability rather than what I normally go out there and do. Um, it was tough. It was really tough. I think I dropped him in about at the end of the fifth round. Um, yeah, I think that fight was definitely a showcase of his boxing ability, I think. Yeah, it was a good fight, good fight.
Yeah, and you caught, I believe was it a body shot that put him down?
No, it was a left hook. It was a counter actually. I got a bit aggressive towards the fifth round, towards the end of the fifth round, threw a shot that I saw coming, and I remember I caught it here, and I caught him with a counter at the same time that dropped him. So, yeah, it was just one of those things. So that's my boy. But yeah, I caught him with a lovely counter left hook. I think that's what done it. Yeah.
Did you think he was getting back up from that knockdown or?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't really going out there to I wasn't really looking for the knockout. So when I dropped him, I didn't. I wasn't planning on dropping him. It just happened. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking for the knockout. So literally after I dropped him, I just went straight to my corner because it was right at the end of the round, so I knew he was going to survive it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more, you weren't looking for it, but it was just the shot timed perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
And overall, that was a good um opponent to show your skills on because he's tough. He's game, isn't he, Mbomo? And he's been stopped at a handful of times, but not many.
Yeah, yeah. It was a good opportunity for me to be able to show off some of my boxing ability and to work on some things as well. I'll be honest though, personally, and I said this, I wasn't happy with that performance. Although I dropped him and I won every round, it didn't feel like I was boxing like myself, you know. And maybe it's like there's just a lot going on, like a change of coach, change of everything, and it's just like we're trying to sort of figure out a style for me. And I'll be honest with you, they were really happy with it. Like the coaching team was, the crowd was, I wasn't. And I said this. I said this after. I said I'm not happy with it because it's not really how I box. Do you know what I mean? It's not how I like to box, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're always going to be harsh on yourself, but especially, when you've changed teams and you're adapting to a new style that your new team are trying to get you to do it, you're gonna not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly
There's
that.
gonna be things to improve on, but as it was a good performance from, well, a fan's point of view, but there's also bits that improve on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and talk about the fight that you had with Ryan Maycock. It was on Box Nation, last month. Talk about that fight. Unfortunately for you, it wasn't your night. You lost on points. Talk about that fight against Ryan.
I think that was a really, really interesting fight. Um, Ryan was on top form that night, and I think he boxed really well. I need to give the guy credit because although he's not a very technical boxer in the sense of, like he's got like the most pristine fundamentals, he's very good at what it is that he does. And I think going in there, I'll be honest, I think I expected it. Um, and I went, I had a strategy for dealing with him. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't do the strategy that I had. I instead went with some of the things that I worked on in the gym and whatnot. And I want to be perfectly honest, I feel as though if I did that the way that I normally box, I would have got the result that I wanted, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I need to give him credit because he did well. He stuck to his game plan. He used
Yeah.
his size. He got messy.
He dragged you into his sort of fight, didn't he?
Yeah, and the thing is, I think like depending on what kind of what version of me shows up on the night, that will depend on how that fight goes. So I think the style, which I wasn't too happy with in the previous fight, trying to use that against him, in my opinion, for what my skill set is, I don't think that that was an appropriate choice. So I felt like I should have stuck to my guns and I should have boxed the way that I normally box. And it's my fault because I said I wasn't happy with the performance previously. And then going into that fight, I should have been like, even though I won it, I'm not happy with it and revert back to what I'm good at. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's something that going forward, I'm taking with me. I've got to give him again credit where credit is due. He did a good job. He boxed well,
Yeah, yeah.
but I definitely think that on a different night or with a different version of myself, that fight would have gone very differently. Um,
Because he's awkward, Ryan, isn't he?
yeah, he is. He is quite awkward, and I've got to say though, it's like there was never a moment in that fight at any point where I was like, oh, I'm in danger, I'm in trouble, I'm worried, I'm hurt. Like, it never really happened. Um, it was just like he was very good at making the fight uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? But there was never a moment where he could make me uncomfortable, if you get what I'm saying. Um, to be honest, I said this a while ago. It's like I'd love to fight him again, but ideally more over 10 rounds or something like a proper fight. Do you know what I mean? And ideally at a lower weight as well, because what happened was I was coming down in weight after that fight that I had. And then when I took the fight with Ryan, I then had to randomly in the middle of the camp go up. Do you know what I mean?
Wasn't
And
the fight because he Ryan always, he's had previous fights at super welter. His last, I think, when he fought in the tournament was super middle, and the fight against you was middle. Yeah, was that
yeah.
the first time you fought at middle? That one?
Yeah, proper it was. I've had a few fights where what tends to happen with me is normally really, I'll fight at like welter or well, if you look at my box rep, my first two fights were at super lightweight.
Yeah, and
And
then
I've been
you fought
wanting
that Rogers, didn't you?
yeah, I did, yeah. And then I fought Rogers when I went up. And then after that, all of the fights I've had, they've just been ironically at like 154 normally. And either the person comes in too heavy or we get a last minute replacement.
What's
So I have
your
to so I put
natural
weight on.
like? What weight would you be ideally wanting to compete at then? Do you
I
think
would I would
middleweight is too big
ideally
or?
I would ideally say welter if I'm being honest. 147. That's probably where I'm the most I think that's where I perform at my best. Like from my spars, from like previous fights, that 147 is where I'm at my best. But I'm strong enough and big enough to do 154. Hell, I'm big enough to do 160. But nonetheless, definitely that welterweight is probably where I'm at my best. So I think from now on, I'm going to try and make sure that I'm fighting at either welterweight or super welterweight because those are the two weight classes where I perform my best for sure.
The person you fought in your four fight, is that a fight? Because that was a split decision fight, which was a close fight. Your first defeat, that was split decision. Would you want to run that back or?
So, all right. So there's a very big difference between that first defeat and the second one. Like I easily hold up my hands and go, look, Ryan Maycock, you did a really good job. You boxed to
Yeah.
a game plan. You won that fair and square. And that, to be honest, Ryan's fight with me feels like my first real loss because
Mm.
that fight that I had in Dubai, I'm being perfectly honest. And like I said, if I can hold my hands up and be like, yeah, I lost to Ryan, no problem. I do the same with the other guy. I had a 4 round fight with him. I dropped him in the first round, basically battered him from pillar to post and lost it on a split. And I want to be honest, I kind of walked away from that thinking, didn't really lose that. Do you know what I mean? Like there was that. So I feel as though running it back doesn't prove anything because if I run it back of him and I don't do 4 rounders anymore, period, and we do that over 6 or 8 or 10, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna knock him out, and I'm not gonna walk away from that feeling like, oh, I've proved something because I've got nothing to prove. Ryan's a different story. With Ryan, like if I'm being honest, I feel as though I know I can beat Ryan. If I'm being perfectly honest, but that's something that I would feel like because he won fair and square, he was a better
Yeah.
man on that night, that's worth getting back. Whereas the other one, I'm like, I don't really even feel like he won that fight. If I go and beat him, I've got nothing to prove. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Ryan, that feels like rising to a challenge. You get what I mean? So that one, yeah, that I'd run back, but not that first one. That feels like a waste of time for me, if I'm being honest. And I'm
I
pretty sure
mean, it
that
would
guy now
be, would
fights
it
at light
not be
heavyweight.
good to try and avenge your first defeat? No.
No, it wouldn't even really be. It wouldn't even be. Honestly, it would just be a one-sided beatdown. There's no point. Like, it doesn't. Yeah, it would be. It would be very one-sided. Waste of time.
And and going back to the fight you had with Ryan, even when you had that little bit of success, he was coming back, wasn't he? Do you just
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he smothered your work quite a lot, didn't he, in the fight?
yeah. I think he did a good job with it. Like, personally, I think I'm quite a clean boxer myself. However, I really appreciate rough boxing and tactics. So being able to smother, being able to fight on the inside, even things like getting your head in there. Like he hit me with a low blow at one point. Um, like I got a headbutt that got me with a cut up here,
It was more
and
it was a head clash when you were working inside the pocket
and
sort of thing.
and these types of things for me, I never really see them as a problem. Like a lot of people complain about them, I don't. Like although I'm assuming that none of it was intentional, even if it was. I would give you credit for it because you did it and you got away with it and you won. So I don't have a problem with it. Like
Was
someone's
it the
fighting,
right eye that was
yeah, with the
swollen?
right eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did
Um,
it did
but
it was your vision okay though from the
I could see it starting to block my
because
vision
it
a little
wasn't
bit.
around like in the eye, it was more below, wasn't it?
No, I know it was above. It was above the eye.
Oh.
I've actually I've got a scar from it over here over my eye because when the doctor, no stitches, but a little bit of glue. But yeah, it didn't bother me too much, if I'm being honest. Um, but yeah, that fight is that was a that I'll be honest with you, that fight was a really tough learning experience for me because I think I made a lot of mistakes before I even got in the ring. Um, they asked me, I said this in sparring, so I had a spar a week before, and I said to my coach flat, I said this is a really bad camp for me. This is actually probably one of my worst camps. I don't think I had enough sparring. I couldn't train very much because I wasn't feeling too well. I was off work for 2 weeks as
Mm.
well because I was sick. I had like a chest infection, so I wasn't really like in the best health. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's an excuse. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
because, as far as I'm concerned, if you decide to get in that ring, you've made your mind up. You get what I'm saying? There's no
Yeah.
excuses. It doesn't matter what's going on in your personal life. When you get in that ring, you get in that ring. And I think that for me, obviously trying to be a bit manly, like I always am, I would be like, I'm just going to get in the ring, even if I'm missing a leg. Do you know what I mean? And the smarter thing to do in that scenario for me would have been to be like, I'm not, I haven't had the greatest camp. I was sick because I had a fight, what, 3 weeks before or something like that. And then
Yeah.
two
Against them, but
weeks,
yeah.
yeah, again, yeah. So then 2 weeks I was sick. And then I only had 1 week of being all right. And I managed to have one sparring with a southpaw, but a really good southpaw who doesn't help prepare you for what Ryan is. Ryan's a lot more raw, but I box against a really skillful southpaw. Doesn't really help. Do you know what I mean? So,
How would you,
and
sort of rate Ryan to some of the other opponents you've boxed?
I always say that the person that I'm fighting most recently is the best person that I've boxed, and it always is that way
Mm,
because um, I think Ryan's a really interesting one. I don't think from a skill perspective that he's like technically one of the highest skillful wise, but from he's just so good at what he does, in my opinion, like with his awkwardness and whatnot. Um, and ironically, because of the type of fighter that I am, I find good boxers easier to deal with.
mm,
So like my style is very much based around taking advantage of the things that people are good at. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got a really good jab, if you've got a really good 1-2, if you've got really good phase attacks, I will counter all of that. Do you know what I mean? Like a really good jab isn't going to do shit against me. Like, oh, I've got a really good 1-2, I'll punish you for it. I've got really good feet, I'll stop your feet. Do you know what I mean? So like that, if you've got really good fundamentals, it actually makes it easier for me to beat you. Whereas when you're all over the place and you're hard to predict it's hard for me to get counters off. Do you know what I mean? So I actually find it ironic that the worse you are technically, the harder I find it. You know what I mean? Because it depends
Yeah.
on what kind of a person's in front of me. Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, what would you say is well next for you? Would you try and maybe fight again in Czech Republic or Dubai, or just see what opportunities
Mm.
come about?
No, no, no. I'm gonna fight here. I think I really wanna get stuck into boxing in the sense where I want challenges, you know? I think like I could go off and I could blast out like 50 people like easily and it doesn't do anything for me. I want things to be you get complacent, you know, and I want a challenge, I want harder fights and I've got a fight um planned already. If it all goes through, I'll be fighting again in a couple of months.
What,
So
March,
I'm
February, or just see?
yeah, around March time is what I'm hoping for. Um, so yeah, early March. This goes through, I'm going straight into the deep end. And I think the main thing is I really don't like four rounders. I don't even like six rounders, to be honest. I want like tens, you know, I want like serious fights that are grueling. I think the biggest thing
More
for me now
50-50 fights.
yeah, I want 50-50 fights. I want harder fights. I want serious contenders. And I want a reason to get up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like I want a reason to like, yeah, I'm gonna go and do that run because I really got to put my foot on the gas for this fight. So yeah, serious fights, that's the plan going forward. And I think taking risks is what I'm good at and I do best when I'm under pressure. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's going to be quite a big change for me. Like you'll see when I get in March, my boxing's going to change a lot, and I'm mainly because I'm going to be focused on what I'm good at. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the goal, man. That's the goal.
So and in 2025, so can we expect you? Did you say super welterweight or welter?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mhm. Was it a good experience, when you boxed in Czech Republic and Denmark and Dubai?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting seeing how they do things differently in different countries. It's a lot more lax than the UK. The UK is a bit more structured, shall I say. It's like over there, like at times you're like, what's going on? Like it's just random and things are being thrown at you and whatnot. But the experience overall was great. Like I had a really good laugh in all the places that I went. Denmark was brilliant. It was a massive stadium actually. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was really, really, really good. Um, I think obviously the thing that is probably the most important to me though as a British fighter myself is fighting on home soil. You know, like the things that I'm interested in, like I really want to fight for the Southern area, the English, the British, you know. I
Yeah,
take pride in that. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that's my main focus. However, it's always lovely going out. And to be honest, I'm a bit of a I'm a bit of a lone wolf where I kind of like going into foreign territory where there's no fans to support me and that. I enjoy that aspect of it. But at the same time, it's like nothing better than coming home. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
good experience.
exactly. Nothing beats fighting in front of your home crowd.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, before I let you go, as always, do you want to shout out anyone that's helping you at the moment? Anyone at all?
Um, at the minute, um, Ventus Prime Sports, they're my guys, my management team, and of course, Gunman Boxing, Gunman Promotion. They've been looking after me. Um, but most importantly, I need to shout out myself, all right? Because I'm the one who's putting in all this graft. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think now more than ever, it's really important for me to put myself on my own back. Do you know what I mean? I got to give myself credit for my own work. So, um, yeah, uh, I want to keep the team small. You know, I want to ride solo for a bit, which is what I love doing. And yeah, I want to stay active.
Good to hear, mate. Thank you for your time, and yeah, all the best with 2025.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. Take it easy.
Thank you, mate. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.